Welcome once again to
Thank
Auroville. Uh, we were really graced by his visit last time here, and then we are more blessed this time to have him for full 2 days and more, but this is there. Just a sincere request, please switch off your mobiles. No photographs to be taken during this conversation. I'm requesting you to please put off your mobiles. We have official photographers. If you need photographs, it will be available on Satsang Foundation. We have come here to listen to him. Let's open our heart.
May not be as good as them, but
Now that's inviting trouble. Um, so 4 to 6 is today's topic. So just invitation is to really listen, move into a heart space. 4 to 5:30 is the deliverance, and then 5:30 to 6. If there are any question and answers or questions, answers will be given by Shri M. 5:30 to 6 is the dialogue, and at 6, my sincere request is everyone please continue to remain seated. There are very specific instructions to be given about tomorrow's event. You wouldn't want to miss that for life. So invitation is let him move and stay back for the instruction.
thank
Over to you.
thank you. Om Brahmanandam Paramasugadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Ranvaditam Gaganasadarsham Tattvamashyati Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarehitam Satgurum. Invocation to the teacher. Now, the subject is Upanishad, but I will have a general section on the Upanishad and then go on to a specific Upanishad. Well, I like all Upanishads, but specific Upanishad because a couple of people suggested that I do it here. I don't know how many people are aware that Sri Aurobindo wrote a beautiful commentary and translation of the Ishavasha Upanishad. There are several other Upanishad talks, but I am going to do the Keno Upanishad for you. You know why? Because it has a wonderful word. The starting word is Keno, which means who. Who am I? Who are you? What is our identity? Who do you think you are? People get angry, they ask each other, who do you think you are? Well, here in India, we don't think who we are, we know who we are. So, anyway, I hope. Sometimes I wonder. Anyway, so before that, I'm going to talk about what an Upanishad is. First of all, let me tell you that the Upanishad is the essence of the teachings of the Vedas. And therefore, it's one of the most ancient teachings that we have got. We have inherited in this world. Why do I say world and not country? Because even though it came from India and was taught in the ancient Indian language, it deals with the whole universe. It doesn't deal with any geographical locations or boundaries. It is the Upanishad that declares Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, may the whole world be happy. So, while you cannot forget the source, the essence of it is universal. It's a teaching for all human beings. Something to remember always. So, and there are 11 principal Upanishads and any number of other Upanishads. For instance, all the teachings today that we have on yoga, for instance, the Yoga Pradipika, the Nath Sampradaya's texts like Shiva Samhita, Garanda Samhita, Goraksha Shataka, and so on, all the texts that we have today, you will find the originals in the Upanishad. Not in the principal Upanishads, but the principal Upanishads deal with core matters, not practice as such. Practice is dealt with a body of literature called the Yoga Upanishads. There are about 50 Yoga Upanishads, which unfortunately are mostly unknown to people. If you go back to them, you will see that all the yogic teachings we have after that, including the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, are reflected in these Upanishads. There was a great teacher, Vedantic and yogic teacher, who lived in Kanchipuram. Of course, whose samadhi is in the most neglected state now, who translated the Yoga Upanishads for the first time into Tamil. And then now the Theosophical Society has done a great job in translating them, 20 or so, into English from Tamil. These are the Yoga Upanishads. For instance, if you go to the Hamsa Upanishad, you will see all the teachings on Hamsa. Go to Mandala Brahmana Upanishad, you will see all the teachings on the Kundalini, and so on and so forth. I'm trying to say that the Upanishads are the most ancient source of these teachings. Now, what about the 11 principal Upanishads? The 11 principal Upanishads deal with the actual essence and core of the teaching, not the practice. You'll wonder why this comes first. Because it is dangerous to practice without knowing where you're going and what's your blueprint. Because then when you go into unexplored territories, you wouldn't know where you are and what you're doing. And then you'll email me. You know how many emails I get regularly about certain things? It's okay. I'm a little short, sorry. Thank you, good gesture. So, what did I say? This is Upanishad, so please, Yeah, and many of them, apart from those which seek a promotion or a child and so on, in India, if you are a guru, you need to do all that. Thereabout, I started practicing something. Now something is happening to me. I don't know what is happening to me. Can you help me? So I said, so where did you learn? From such and such a source. Go back and ask them. That person is not available or reachable. What am I supposed to do? So I am the trash box in which this thing happens. So anyway, if you go to the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, it is divided into 4. I'm connecting it with the Upanishads. There are 4 chapters. One chapter, the first, sections. The first section is not practice. The first section is called Samadhipada, which means an understanding of what you are trying to achieve by the practice of yoga. Samadhi. What is samadhi? What is the essence that you are trying to look at before you go into the practice? So where does practice come? In the next session, which is called Sadhanapada, then Vibhutipada, then Kaivalya. Right? So 4 sections. So the first section is Samadhipada. It deals with the blueprint, the core, the essence, and then goes to the practice. Right? Otherwise you practice and you say, there is a snake moving in my throat, I don't know what to do. I said, catch a mongoose and put it in. So, this Samadhipada is exactly in its philosophical content that is dealt with in the Upanishad. So this is why the Upanishad is the essence of the teachings. So the 11 principal Upanishads deal precisely with this matter. What are you looking for? Where are you? Who are you? Why are you searching? What are you searching for? Right? Are you still interested in the Upanishad? Anyway, now I brought this book because I am likely to, Upanishad is the ultimate breaking down of all support. And therefore, when I deal with the Upanishads, I can go off the runway. So this can keep me centered. But I think, okay, here you're talking to somebody who wants to listen. So now here is the prayer of the Upanishad. This is meant for this particular Upanishad. Every Upanishad has an invocation. The invocation for the Kenu Upanishad goes like this. Did I bring my glasses? Yogis also need reading glasses. Huh? So, the invocation for the Kenu Upanishad. Apayantu mamangani vak pranas chakshutshotram mato balam indriyani cha sarvani. First sentence, first sloka. May my limbs grow vigorous. Apayantu mamangani vak chakshutshotram atho balam. May my speech, my breath, my eye and my ear gain strength. Indrayani cha sarvani, also my indriyas, my senses. So if somebody thinks the Upanishad is only for those who have given up their senses, sorry, indriyas also should be strong. But directed in proper use. Right? Because Upanishad is not meant only for sannyasis. Please remember. All the rishis you come across in the Upanishads and the Vedas, none of them are sannyasis. Pick one for me. Go and research and find out. Not that they were living luxuriously. Simple people. So, may my limbs grow vigorous. May my speech be good. May my breath become strong. May my eyes be sharp. Also my strength and all my senses. Ears are the sense organs, right? If you can't hear sharp, what will you listen to what is being said? And so on. If my speech is not good, how will I teach you? Okay. The second invocation is Sarvam Brahmopanishadam Maham Brahma Nirakaryam Ma Brahma Nirakarut Anirakaranam me astu Anirakaranam me astu, which means all is the Brahman of the Upanishads. I mean, there is nothing that is not the Brahman of the Upanishads. Good, bad, small, short, tall, long, everything is the Upanishad. Brown, black, white, brunette, blonde, all are the Upanishads. The Brahman of the Upanishads. There is nothing that is outside the scope of the Brahman of the Upanishads. And may that Brahman never discard me. And may there be no discarding either by the Brahman of me or the me. And last, may the Brahman not discard me. The third sloka. Tad atmani nirateya upanishatsu dharmaste mai shanta om shanti shanti shanti. Which means let these truths which are going to be set forth in the Upanishads live in me, who am dedicated to the discovery of the self. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Because if there is no peace, there is nothing. So this is the prayer. So having said the prayer, I will go into a general description of the Upanishad and then take up the specific Upanishad, which would be Ken Upanishad this time. Now, why is it called the Upanishad and where does it occur in the Vedas? Every Veda, at one time they say that the Vedas were scattered. There were different teachings that came to the rishis in a superconscious state, but they were not codified or made into any, composed into a general body of literature. This was done by the great Vedavyasa, which is why he's called Vedavyasa, because the word Vyasa in Sanskrit means a compiler. So the one who compiled the Vedas is Vedavyasa. So Vedavyasa compiled these ancient truths which were there into Rig, Yajur, Sama and Atharva, the four Vedas. Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atharva. Now when you normally say Vedas, people think we are talking about the Samhita portion. The Vedas have the Samhita, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, which of course are part of the Upanishadic literature. The first part is the Samhita. These are the hymns of the Vedas. One of the most important part of the Rig Veda Samhita, for instance, is a mantra which is so important that a particular way of chanting is called the Gayatri Chantas. Gayatri mantra is from a Samhita of the Rig Veda. We won't dwell on the Gayatri now. That would be like, are you telepathic? So, what did I say? So now from the Rigveda, Samaveda, Atharvana Veda, Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda and Atharvana. Now each has a Samhita and a Brahmana portion. Brahmana portion is that which is ceremonial mostly, teaching you how to use certain parts of the Samhita for certain purposes and so on. And daily practice and so on is the Brahmanas, the ceremonial portion. And then come the Aranyaka. The Aranyakas are those parts of the Vedas which were studied in the Aranya. Aranya means a forest. A forest need not mean like a wildlife forest where tigers are walking around. It means a place where there are big trees and nice streams of water and lovely mountains. This would qualify as a vana, also as a aranyaka. So that portion which was studied intimately between the teacher and the disciple, from the gems picked up from the Samhita and the Brahmana portions, were called Aranyakas. Many of the Upanishads are part of the Aranyaka section. So this is the Upanishad. And since they occur at the end of the Vedas, they are called Vedanta. Anta in Sanskrit means the end, last part. So the Upanishads are called Vedanta because they occur at the end of the Vedas, of the Samhitas. So this is generally what the Upanishads are. And what does it mean, the word Upanishad? You have 3 syllables there. This is something about Sanskrit. Every noun is made up of a verb, some verb or the other. And you know the verb is a word of action. So what does Upanishad? Upa. The word upa means close, to sit close to each other, to come close to each other. Not just physically close, you can be a little away, it doesn't matter. But that the mind of the teacher and the taught come together to understand this truth, because I won't say it is tough, but it is so fine that one has to put one pointed attention on it and needs a lot of energy which shouldn't be wasted. And therefore, the mind of the teacher and the mind of the taught, the student, should come as close as possible to understand the truths of the Upanishad. The French use a word, en rapport. Right? There should be a rapport between the teacher and the taught. Then what happens? After a time, when the Upanishad itself declares, Yad vacha na abhyutitam, that which words cannot explain, that passes between the minds, not through the words. This is the Upanishad. So this is the meaning of come close together. Don't mistake it, it's not physical, okay? You don't have to hug me for this. It's the mind that's important, to come together. So, also because people sat close to each other and learned this. It was also called the Rahasya. Upanishad was called the secret. One, because those days they did not want everybody to hear what is being said, because the teachings are so revolutionary. And there's a chance that prematurely somebody might give up everything else and start looking for the truth and so on. they were only taught to those who were considered qualified, apta, which means one who have sufficiently developed to understand and to practice with balance of mind. Hmm? Also, there were no microphones and loudspeakers. So the teacher sat close to the student and spoke quietly. So this is upa. Then the other syllable, shad. I know you're wondering what happened to the knee. Come there. At the moment, my knees are fine. Mm. So shad. Shad means, literally it means sit. Sit down. Now you're all sitting down, so I know you're listening. When you stand up, I know that you are going off. So there's no attention. The physical sitting down is one shad. It is not enough if you only sit down physically. You can sit here and your mind can wander on the street. Especially there are lots of good boutiques here and so on. Mhm. So shad also means to sit and allow the mind to sit. But the mind is not moving, not wandering, it is sitting in one place. Shad. Now, one of the greatest of commentators on the Upanishads was Adi Shankara. Shankara has another interpretation for Shad. Can't question it because he was an expert in Sanskrit. Even if you think it's wrong, you can't challenge. Shad, he said, also means to shake up. Shake up. Shake up means to break the status quo, to put things on their head. A manthan, a shaking up. And Shankara then comments saying what it means is to shake up your wrong ideas and wrong beliefs that you think that this world is real. Well, it appears to be real, but there's another one which is real, and this is appears to be real, but is not real. And there's something which is real, but you think it is not real, and so on. Which means to start thinking in a different way. In the Bhagavad Gita, the 15th chapter has a wonderful title. It's called Purushottama Yoga, the yoga of the Supreme Being. And it starts by describing an upside down peepal tree. You have never seen an upside down peepal tree anywhere, any tree for that matter. Always the roots are down and the branches are up. But the Gita describes Urdhvamulam Matashakam Ashwatham Pravuravyayam. There is a peepal tree, Ashwatha tree, whose roots are up above and branches down below. The whole world and the Vedas and everything are the leaves and the branches. The root up above. Now this is a shaking up of one's thought process. One sees only the leaves and the branches. One doesn't see the roots that come from above. It's actually putting your logic in an upside down manner. Because without that, you cannot break the linear thought process. You know the linear thought process? Like something is there and I'm here and I want to reach it. This is the linear process. Right? Most things are like that. This is here, I need to reach. From the Vedantic point of view, if something which we look for is here, there, and everywhere, how do you reach for it? Maybe it exists when all reaching stops, all grasping stops, all linear processes come to an end, when the mind is moving nowhere and is absolutely quiet, perhaps. So, according to Shankara, Shad also means shaking up, looking at things differently. He defines it as waking up from the sleep of ignorance. While we think that we are in full knowledge, right? Okay. Then there is this little word ni in between. Ni is the syllable which signifies the attitude of the listener and the speaker. Ni is from the word down. Well, in Hindi you can understand niche, down. Ni is the first syllable of that, which means the student sits down to study the Upanishad with the understanding that I don't know. Because if I knew that, I won't understand anything. The student sits, not here. The student sits before the Rishi saying, I do not know. May I understand? Because when I say I know, then there's nothing more to understand. The Upanishad itself says, he who knows, knows not. He who knows not begins to know. This attitude is ni. It's like emptying your mind and keeping it free to receive. Normally, there is no space to receive. So many things in our minds, right? I know this, I know that. And it's like trying to pour a liquid into a vessel which is already full. Not possible. And even physically, if you need to pour something into something, the receiving vessel has to be here. You can't keep and pour. That attitude is neat. Because the brain is filled with so much that we have gathered, perhaps in search of truth, I agree. Maybe good intentions, maybe serious. But it's so full after a while that what you learn becomes more important than what is. We have 2 days, today and tomorrow, so if I go a little bit long, please don't worry. We'll come to the point. This is all Upanishad. I'm sure many of you would know because I'm thinking that most of you know some Tamil from Tamil Nadu. So not all, but I'm telling you about the famous case of a great scholar and Vedic scholar, also a poet, who went to meet Ramana Maharshi before he was known as the Maharshi. He was the one who coined the term Maharshi, actually. Anybody knows? Yeah, Ganapati Shastri. He was such a famous poet that he was known as Kavyakanta Ganapati Shastri. There was nothing in the spiritual and scriptural knowledge that he did not know. Everything. I don't think you'll find a human being like that. Very rare. Kavyakanta, he knew from Agamas to the Vedas to Srividya Upasana to Tantra, there is nothing he didn't. And yet he felt. So don't think that suddenly if you take Srividya, you'll reach moksha. These people usually pop up this. When I'm walking, they say, "Can you give me Sri Vidya?" Anyway, so no disrespect to Sri Vidya. Without that, I cannot even be speaking a word. But anyway, so he still felt with all this knowledge that there was something missing. There was some obstacle between him and the truth. Something was preventing him from looking at the truth. So he was going around trying to figure out. He went to many places. In Tamil Nadu, there are many adinams. He went to so many teachers, but he could not find a solution. So somebody told him when he was wandering around Tiruvannamalai, there's a young man sitting on the top of the mountain, Arunagiri. Why don't you try? Go there. They said, we don't know if he's going to speak. He rarely speaks. But go and find out. So he went. And he saw Ramana sitting, looking straight in front. For a long time, he also went and sat down there quietly. Eyes were open. Have you seen any picture of Ramana Maharshi with closed eyes? Because the inside and the outside was the same. No need to close. So he saw him sitting there with his eyes open, but his eyes were not focused on him. They were just like that. So he waited. That you must say, that patiently he waited for an hour. And then the eyes shifted and landed on him. He was waiting, and then, Maharishi did not speak much. I think he thought it was futile. I think we are all doing this. There's no use. Anyway, so he just put up his hand and did like this, which is a gesture in India meaning what? Enna? What? So, Ganapati Shastrigal was waiting for the coup. He started off. It took him more than 10 minutes, apparently, to explain all the things that he was doing. I've done this, I've done that, I did this, I read that, I'm Sri Vidya, this, that. By 10 minutes, he was exhausted, of course. He finished everything. And then he said, now what? What am I supposed to do? Maharshi made a comment which is so interesting. In Tamil, he said to him, because the talk was in Tamil, "Konja neram chumma irukka mudiyuma?" He said, can you shut up for a few minutes? Can you stop talking for some time? Because that talk was what was troubling him actually. That I have done this, I have done that. Said, be free of that. As soon as he heard it, but please understand that here was a sadhak who had done everything and come to that juncture when he just needed a knock, which is why it's called Shruti. Because when the proper person hears it, Shruti is not something to be read and then memorized and discussed. That is Smriti. Shruti is directly said and heard. Shrotrasya. It is heard. Here was a man who was fully prepared. The moment he heard it, it clicked. And he said, I got it. And then he was the one who came down and spread the word that there is a Maharshi sitting up there. Well, you guys are wasting your time. Go there. And then poor Ramana Maharshi was surrounded. So, That's another meaning of the word Shad. That's why I was going into this story. Hmm? So, if you can set all that aside and listen to the Shruti with your ears open, without clouding your mind, it's a good thing you have studied a lot of things, very nice. When you listen to the Upanishad, it should be the Upanishad, clear and simple. And it's not complicated, very simple. Therefore, if the mind is ready, you will not come back for another talk. It's over. Why? Why would you come? You heard it registered, you catch the next bus or car and go home. So this is the Upanishad. Now, I thought of dealing with the Kena Upanishad. So I'm going to start with that. The word, the Kena Upanishad occurs in the Samaveda, the end of Samaveda. Now the Samaveda is the third. Rig, Yajur and Sama. Atharvana is the last. But Samaveda, if you go through the Samaveda, you will find that about 75 to 80% of the Samaveda is the Rigveda. But it is set in a particular singing tone. The Samaveda is not recited, it is sung. People say Sama Gayanti. We sang the Sama. And the Samaveda is the source of all the musical knowledge we have in this country. The Samaveda. And it is so important that Vyasa has to make Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita, among the Vedas, I am the Samaveda. He didn't say Rigveda. And music, therefore, is part of this understanding, because music is a bridge between the visible and the invisible. That which is here and that which is beyond. Words cannot touch that. Only sound. I would say sound. And Samaveda deals with sound. Even many of the mantras that you have from the Vedas, is not just the meaning that is important, but the sound. Sound can produce changes in your mind which the meaning of those words cannot produce. So therefore the Kena Upanishad is from the Samaveda. And it's an Upanishad which has a very strange title, as I said before, Keno Upanishad, which means who. Who or what is the origin of the universe? Who or what is your identity and mine? Who or what is behind this whole universe? What is the essence from which this whole universe has come into being? Well, Upanishads call it the Brahman, the Supreme, from the root word Bru, which means ever expanding, unending. So the Upanishad starts with Keneshitam patati prasitam manaha kena prana prathama praiti yuktaha keneshitam vacham imam vadanti chakshutshotram ka udeva yunakti. This is the first. Getting old. Yeah. Keneshitam patati prashitam manaha kena prana prathama prayati yuktaha keneshitam vacham imam vadanti chakshutshotram gaudevo yunakti. Which means keneshitam patati prashitam manaha. What is the first impulse that begins when the mind is created? What is the first thought that occurs? What is the source of that thing called thought? Where does it come from? Who is the source of that? I think I am the source of thought. Wrong, according to the Upanishad. The source of all thought is the Supreme Brahman. And therefore, when I'm trying to free myself from thought, some people say we are freeing ourselves from. You cannot. If I say I have no thought now, I'm thinking, right? Mhm. Why? Because the absolute Brahman is the root which gives the first impulse to the mind to think. May not be thought in its organized form, but the first impulse of the mind to think, the process of consciousness. Without consciousness, you can't think, right? So when all the ripples are clear, consciousness in its pure state is the beginning. Kineshitam patati prashitam manaha. What is it that gives first impulse to thought, to the mind? Kena prana prathama prayati yuktaha. What is it that gives? That gave the first impulse for the moment of life? What made the first life on this earth? Where did it begin? Who is the beginner? Who gave the first impulse to this expanding universe, ever expanding universe? Kineshitam vacham imam vadanti. Who is behind speech when I say I speak? Who is it that gives meaning to words? Who is it that recognizes speech? Who is the essence of speech? Where does speech come from? Chakshu Otram Kaudeva Yunakti. Who is it that is seeing from my eyes when I say I see? And who is hearing from my ear when I say I hear? Now you say very simple, I am, M is here, no? Could be M or S or G, but something is there which sees, understands, and reacts. The pure essence of consciousness, without which all these are mere instruments. This is the question with which the Kena Upanishad begins. What is the first impulse behind thought? What is the first impulse behind life? What is the first impulse behind seeing and hearing? What is the essence of all this from which all these have come? What is its relation to the outside world? To put in a nutshell, where does this all spring from? And the second sloka tries to explain this, but it is no explanation really. Because there is no way to explain it. So therefore, the Upanishad explains it as this question of who. It says it is Shrotrasya Shrotram Manaso Mana Yat Vachoha Vacham Sahu Pranasya Prana Chakshushachakshuradhimucya dhira pratyasmalogat amrita bhavanti. Means It is the eye of the eye. There is no other explanation possible. Shotrasya Shrotram, sorry, the ear of the ear. Hmm? It is the ear of the ear. No, let me explain. I think you're a little confused. Hmm. Suppose I'm seeing you. You just look at it. It may appear so simple. I can say, oh, I can see you. Just see how complex the whole process is. Light falls on you, reflects into my eye apparatus, which has a convex lens. The retina registers it. The optic nerve takes it to the brain, and the brain, because of its previous experiences, this is the man. It's not so simple as it looks. The eye doesn't see. The optic nerve doesn't see. The retina doesn't see. It's the mind that sees. And the essence of that mind is the consciousness. Without consciousness, the mind cannot see. Even without attention, it cannot see. Forget about consciousness. I'm sitting here, right? My eyes are open. You're all here. The op- um, the optical apparatus must be seeing all this. But if my mind is not here, I don't see any of you. In my case, I might be seeing Kailash if my mind is there. Or somebody else may be seeing Hema Malini, who knows? But eyes are seeing what is in front of you, right? Mind is more important than the apparatus. Upanishad is saying that there is something more important than the mind, that is the consciousness. And the brain is a complex computer with artificial intelligence, but it functions because of the presence of the consciousness. Not artificial, natural intelligence. Mhm. Essence is consciousness. So, to explain this, the only way to see is the essence of all this is the eye of the eye and the ear of the ear. Shrotrasya Shrotram Manaso Mana, it is the mind of the mind. In Malayalam, we have a prayer, evening prayer, that is chanted. Usually only old ladies sit down and do it. Young people are not interested. It's called Harinama Sankirtanam. Mhm. Because every sloka ends with Hari Narayanaya Namah. It's called Hari Nama Sankirtana. But the first part is almost like the Kena Upanishad. You may know Malayalam, you may not. Those who know Malayalam will follow immediately. കണ്ണിന് കണ്ണു മനമാകും കണ്ണതിന് കണ്ണായിടുന്ന പൊരുൾ താനെന്നറിയും അളവ് ആനന്ദമെന്ത് ഹരിനാരായണായ നമ. That means Sankirtana is only at the end. Harinarayanaya nama. Means kanna is eye. Kannana kanna. Manamagum kanna. The eye of this eye is the mind. Suppose I realize that I am also the eye of the mind. How blissful would that be? Hari Narayanaya nama. So the mind that registers everything. There is something that is registering the mind always. The consciousness. This is defined in the Upanishad as Shrotrasya Shrotram Manaso Mana, mind of the mind, Yad Vacho Havacham, speech of the speech, Rahu Pranasya Prana, it is the beginning of all life, Chakshusha Chakshur, the eye of the eye, Adimuchya Dhira, in ancient times, the brave men. They're not said wise men, the brave men, because it needs courage to walk out of the weather-beaten track. Adimuchya Dhira, the courageous ones. Pratyasma Logat Amrita Bhavanti, left this world to reach immortality. Amrita means immortal. You also you can make Amrita and taste it, it's very nice. But Amrita in Sanskrit means no death. Amrita. So Upanishads say that which is the essence of all being, which is the eye of the eye and the ear of the ear and so on and so forth, mind of the mind. In ancient times, the great ones, the brave ones, you have to be brave, right? Without being courageous, you cannot break down your normal thought process. In ancient times, they did, and they reached the deathless state when they realized that the essence of their being was none other than the Supreme Brahman. Now, it's an interesting thing which occurs to all teachers of the Upanishad, including me. This is the third sloka of the Kena Upanishad. It says, talking about that Supreme Being, who is the essence of all, na tatra chakshur gacchati, na vak gacchati, no mana. There the eye does not reach. Na tatra chakshur gacchati, vak gacchati. Words do not reach because it cannot be explained in words or defined in words. Na tatra chakshur gacchati, na vak gacchati, no mana. Even the mind cannot reach there. Then we have no other instrument. Because the only instrument you have is the mind, or you can call it brain or whatever. Even if that doesn't reach there, we have no other instrument. But the Upanishad says, na tatra chakshur gacchati, na vag gacchati, no mana. Who is doing this? Dangerous times. I have to get ready with my kalari then. So, na tatra chakshur gacchati, na vag gacchati, no mana. There, eye does not reach. Chakshu gacchati. No, vag gacchati. It cannot be described in words. Words cannot reach there, nor can it be described. No mana. Even the mind cannot reach there. Then what do we do? Now, I must add that when they say even the mind cannot reach there, it means the mind that thinks linear. That is the normal mind, to go from here to there. An ordinary mind, let's say, normal, not in a bad way, but cannot reach there. No mana. Now I know what some people think I am not an ordinary mind. Na chakshur gacchati, na vag gacchati, no mana. The mind also cannot reach there. Then what to do? The Rishi says, na vidno na vijanimo yathaitad anushishyat. I cannot understand how I can teach this. He's putting up his hands. Na vidmo na vijanimo yathaitad anushishyat. How do I teach this to you? I can't understand. So does it mean that you can't learn anything from? No. It means when you have understood that there is no ordinary way of finding it, and when you have stopped all that and the mind is at total rest, then perhaps one touches the essence of being. Otherwise, it's always moving. Yeah, there. Hmm? So you are actually wasting time, right? Na vidmo na vijani mo yatai. Oh, this is another Upanishad. Do we have a break now? Or no? I thought there was no. It's okay. No problem. Then the Rishi goes to complicated it even more by saying, Anya devatat viditat atho avititat ati idi shushrama purvesham yanastat vyajachakshire. We have heard from the ancients who have explained it to us. Doesn't want to put a, what do you call that? When you write an article, you sign your name, byline. Huh? No. Byline. The Rishi doesn't want to put a byline. He says, we have heard it from the ancients who have explained to us what? That it is Anya Devatat Viditat. It is indeed other than which is known. That means you cannot know it. When you know it, there are two entities, right? One entity is trying to know something else. There is only one entity. Where is the question of knowing? So, the Rishi says, Anya Devatat Viditat. It is indeed other than that which is known. And yet, Atho Avititad Adhi, but it is not which cannot be known. Which means it is above the unknown. It looks like it cannot be known. And therefore the Rishi says, don't give up. Even though it is other than the known, it is above the unknown. Which means don't say now, okay, the Upanishad says the supreme truth, the Brahman, cannot be known. So, okay, fine, thank you very much. It is above that which is unknown. Which means, yes, maybe it is known, but it is not known with any usual process that we know of. There is no process by which it can be known, other than understanding that there is no process. All processes are a preparation. Yeah, you need to prepare. Once you prepare, you need to break it. Like you have clay, which is formless. Suppose you want to make a picture out of, an image out of that. What do? You can hand fashion it. You want it more perfect, you can put it in a mold. It's already there. And close both sides. And then when it is ready, if you want to see the image that you have created, do you have to break the mold or leave it there? Break the mold. Mold is necessary, but it is also necessary to break at some point. Upanishads are dealing purely with the breaking part. All other practices of sadhana and so on are the molding part. This is the breaking part. Now, so is there a way out or there is no way out? I personally think no amount of reading or studying, practicing is of much help. Perhaps if you think that somebody has grasped it, then perhaps if your minds are in rapport with that, you might grasp it, probably. Otherwise, you can theoretically understand this much and leave it at that. I was going to say some other example, but my mind went blank suddenly. This is the danger. Don't read the Upanishad. It's lovely to have the mind blank, but then you can't say anything, right? So, shall we proceed? The last one, the last sloka was Anya devatad viditat athova viditat adhi iti shushruma pur. No. Yeah. Iti shushruma purvesham yunastat vyada chakshire. This was the last sloka we did, right? Right or wrong? It is indeed other than that which is known. I forgot to explain. It also means that which is known through your five senses. It is other than the things that you know through your five senses. This is something which is beyond the five senses. There is a beautiful story at the end of this Upanishad. Therefore, the Rishi says it can be known because it is not totally unknown, but not through the usual process of knowing through your senses. Or even the mind, because the mind is also considered to be part of the senses. The outer senses and the inner senses. So then how can it be known? Perhaps when the mind is still and is not attempting to know anything, provided it has already freed itself from thinking that it can be known through the five senses. Then, now that is the preparation. And the last part is the actual. When through experience, through understanding, through listening, through reading, one knows that the subject that we are dealing with is not something that can be known through the senses. And then when the mind says, then I know only things which can be known through the senses, so perhaps it doesn't exist. Somebody says it exists, maybe I will look further. And then you see that something that is beyond the five senses, which is known when everything is quiet, when there is no movement of the mind, either to know or not to know, either to knowledge or to ignorance, the mind in its pure state of absolute quietness is perhaps when it is known. Now the next sloka is a very controversial sloka, and it's quite a revolutionary sloka. One would wonder that it came 2000 years ago. It's a conservative estimate. Some say 1500, 2000. And this is the fifth sloka of the Keno. Yat vacha na abhyutitam, yana vak abhyutyate, tadeva brahmatvam vidvi nedam yad idam upasate. Yat vacha na abhyutitam, that which words cannot grasp or explain, or that which words cannot reach, yana vak abhyutyate, but because of which speech has the capacity to express. That which speech cannot reach, words cannot reach, which cannot be defined by our words, because our words are built up in the scope of the three-dimensional world. All speech. It can speculate on the fourth dimension, but most of it is built up of the three-dimensional world. Such a speech cannot reach it. Yat vachana abhyutitam. And it cannot be described through words. If it cannot, it is because of it that the capacity to describe exists in us. Then the last sloka is what I said is very controversial. Tadeva brahmatvam vidvi nedam yad idam upasate. That alone is the truth, O disciple. Nothing that you worship here. You might think Krishnamurti is speaking. This is 2000 years ago. Tadeva brahmatvam vidvi nedam yad idam upasate. I'm not saying this is Shruti. Understand, O disciple, that alone is the truth. Nothing that you worship here. Now, it should not be interpreted as nothing that you worship here means you're doing some kind of worship. It means, you know what human beings worship usually? Name, fame, money, wealth, and all the things attached to that. The Upanishad says all this is not worthy of worship. Only that which is the reality, which is the Brahman, which even words cannot express. If words cannot express, there is no fear of being misguided by the media, right? Hmm? You know why many people know me? Because of the YouTube, the digital media. So the Upanishad says it can't be found through the digital media. Out. No words can express it. No way to describe it. So as you go on thinking of this deeply, time will come or a day will come, one day, when the mind cannot think beyond all this and becomes quiet. For that you need the humility to surrender the mind. Think I can achieve anything with my mind, it's not going to work. You need to understand that our mind is very limited first. Why is it limited? Let me explain this. It's another section of Vedanta. How does my mind recognize an object or anything else? What are the inputs which contribute to my understanding or defining something? Where does the information come from? From my indriyas, the five panchendriyas. Eye, the ear, the smell, the taste and the touch. I have no other recourse to no other way of information. All my data comes from these five. Okay. Now this data is fed into my brain, mind or brain, don't worry for the moment, brain. And when I say I understand something, it is based on these inputs. And what I can then conceptualize or theorize or expand from these inputs. Right? There's no other way. Do you think there's another indriya? Maybe. At least we don't know. The panchendriya, the five indriya, the five sense organs. Now, the data gathered from this is what we say is our logical, what do you call that? My blueprint, my rational blueprint, all my rational blueprint is manufactured from the inputs from what I get from my five senses. Now, how reliable are these? How reliable are these? Or how accurate are these inputs? The data that comes in. It looks fine, but it may not be so. The mind also works in between. Even physically. Let's say the eye. One of the most important indriyas is the eye, chakshu. Many of us live in this world by the eye. Somebody likes this color, somebody likes that color. I want to buy a car, I think, what color can I buy? Before you think of other things. So, you know how long people take to buy clothes when they go to a shop? They want the perfect color, the perfect shape comes late. In a communist country, I can't wear orange. In a non-communist country, I cannot wear red, and so on. I mean, so, color. Now look at, uh, so eye is so important. Now, every morning we see the sunrise. Every morning we see the sunset. That's the data we get from our senses, eyes. A high school student will tell you that the sun neither rises nor sets. It's the earth that is moving. But what do we see? We see the sunrise. We see the sunset. Is it that dependable? Hmm? Also, I see this shaped like a half a globe. Yeah, no, full globe. And something here. This is the shape of the microphone. I don't know if you've thought about it. Why do I see it in this shape? Because I'm born, like you all, with a particular kind of convex lens in my eye. My optical instrument is a convex lens of a certain power and capacity. Therefore, I see this in this shape. What if I was born with a uh, optic instrument which is different from this? If you all call it round, I would also say round, but I may be seeing something else. The common housefly has a compound eyes. Can you imagine what it would see when it looked at us? What would be our shape or the shape of this to the compound eye? Have we ever gone into the brain of an elephant and looked through his eyes? Do you know what it sees us like? Big or small, or who knows? So what is the actual shape? That is the shape we see through our eyes. Because they are made in a particular way from birth. And some other creature with a different set of optics might see it differently. And the only inputs we have is the optic, the eye, the senses. So what is the actual shape of this? We cannot say. You can say, according to the instruments of perception that I have, it is this. That's all you can say. Beyond that, you cannot say. But it is that we all agree something is there. But how it is depends on our sense organs and the inputs that the mind receives and then produces. This is the same with all the instruments of perception. And of course, the great mind. If you have hurt me in some way or I don't like you, then even you are the best person, I would think is not a good person. This is how we live our relationships, our view of the world. It all depends on our inputs. So therefore, the Upanishads say that these are very relative. The essence is the truth, which is the Brahman. Everything else are modifications. We stick to the modifications and forget the essence. This is the teaching of the Upanishad. So we have the whole Upanishad to cover. So we have one more day, tomorrow morning and evening, 2 sessions. So now, relevant to the subject, you're open to questions. Relevant to the subject. No political questions. I can't. I have to hear you. Can you? I'm glad you're smiling and laughing.
So, when you started the invocation, there was this reference to the Brahman not discarding the self and the self not discarding the Brahman. But the first part of that says that all is Brahman, and that seems contradictory.
They're not contradictory.
I don't understand it.
It's only when the body, the mind, and the senses are powerful that you can understand the teachings perfectly. Not with imperfect senses. Your hearing must be clear. Otherwise, can you hear the Shruti? No. Your eyes must be good. Otherwise, can you see me talking? No. So, your mind must be sharp. Otherwise, can you grasp what is being said? So, the Upanishad is not saying that you should discard all this. It is saying that the next step after you understand this, that these are limited. That's what, for instance, one of the most important slokas, it's a good question. One of the most important mantras of the Rig Veda is Gayatri. Occurs in the, I think, 126 mandala, probably. Vishwamitra is the Rishi. Now, what does Gayatri? Every day you're supposed to chant the Gayatri. Don't ask ultra-Orthodox people. They'll say you can't chant the Gayatri. You're a woman. I think you can. Anyway, the mantra is Om Bhur Bhuvas Swa. I will not explain the Gayatri. It's an entire 2-day workshop. What is the last sloka of the Gayatri? What is the last part of the mantra? Like Dhyo Yona Prachodayat. You know the Gayatri? Yeah. Dhyo Yon. Where did you study?
I studied in Uti, Lawrence.
Uti.
Uti.
Okay. I didn't know they teach Gayatri in Uti.
No, I learned that at home.
So, Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. What does it mean? May my intelligence, not intellect, may my intelligence be stimulated. Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. May it become illumined. May my intelligence become sharp. May it be stimulated. So, is the Upanishad trying to say don't be intelligent or put your brain into cold storage? No. When one becomes truly intelligent, then one realizes the limitations of one's intellect. Not before that. Which is why the Upanishad starts with the prayer, the invocation, may my limbs be. If my limbs are not strong, how many years do we live on this earth? Very little compared to this whole span of the universe. Very few years. Let me be strong so that I attain moksha before I die. I need my good body, right? So also may all my indriyas be strong and active so that I understand what is going on in this world. And when I understand it, I know how limited it is and I step beyond. Now, you said, may I not discard the Brahman. May Brahman not discard me. It's a prayer, an invocation saying, let me not be caught up in the ignorance of discarding Brahman because I cannot define it. And the prayer is, Brahman, please do not discard me. I might commit a mistake, but please. Got it? So keep your limbs strong. Apayantu mamangani vak chakshutshotram miti balam cha indriyani.
Thank you for your inspiring discourse.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, thank you for the inspiring discourse. You beautifully explained the ideas of truth, reality, the supreme being. You talked about us being fragmented instruments of that being trying to get back to source, as I understood it,
Yes,
with my
right.
limited understanding.
Right.
Yet we are unable to actually achieve that intuition logically through our five senses, right? It takes more than the logic to achieve it.
Absolutely.
Yet my logical brain is unable to get past the question of why this elaborate, complex web exists. How do you tackle the question of why? Is that our fragmented ego asking that question? How do people like you who are more learned and in a higher plane than us, how do you deal with that question of why?
You know what? I can quote the Upanishad. Na vidmo na vijanimo yethaitat anushishya. I don't know how to explain this to you. One. Second, I think you will know the origin of this complex universe only when you touch its essence, not before that. To ask this question prematurely is not the right approach. When you touch that, you will see what the plan is, not otherwise. I want to tell you the story of Wango, Vanakam. Of a story Buddha was very fond of, about a person who goes into the mango grove to eat mangoes, to pluck mangoes, not knowing that the owner of the mango grove is hanging around somewhere. He gets very upset. Somebody is stealing mangoes those days. He fires an arrow, shoots an arrow, sorry. Arrow is stuck here. Guy's fallen down. There's pain. Arrow has to be removed soon, otherwise the person is going to die. The Buddha's question was, somebody asked him this question. Buddha's question was, what is the first step to be taken? To pull out the arrow and find out how to get rid of that pain first, or lie down there with the arrow and wonder who has sent the arrow, where did it come from, what is the source of the arrow. By then one is dead. It can even be poisoned. First step is to move out of the pain and the conditioning that one is in. When one does that, the picture is very clear of why this whole thing has happened in a complex way. Then you'll be in my position. You won't know how to explain it to somebody. I'm telling you. Well, you can give many explanations, but it won't work. Question is legitimate.
Just hold on.
Thank you for the talk. My question is in this direction. Could we get not new senses? What's the Upanishad speaks about to get new senses? So we are limited of over, or living we in an evolutionary world?
Say that again, last part.
That we live in a world which is developing every time new things, also biologically.
Yeah. Right, good question. I said 5 senses. The Upanishad also describes only 5 senses, right? The eye, the ear. It doesn't describe smell, of course, in this Upanishad, but it describes the major senses like seeing, hearing. Then what else? Chakshusha chakshuradimuchit. Speech, and so on. Now, these are the 5 important indriyas that we normally have in this state of evolution as Homo sapiens. However, you should understand that there could be other senses in the human being also, which are not too developed in most people. Most of us are in a civilization which we can call the frontal lobe civilization, only this much. There are still many unexplored parts of the brain, even the brain, which are still being looked into. So one of them or some of them could be another instrument of perception through which one can perhaps grasp these thoughts better. Right? Now, it is very important to understand that it cannot be found through these five senses. Then one begins to look if there is some other way. And then one comes across what in ancient times has been called the eye of wisdom, Ajna. The Ajna Chakshu, the eye of wisdom, is a center in our body which can sense things which the ordinary brain cannot, which depends on the data of only the five senses. And the good news is that I think, and many others think, my master thought so, that as human beings evolve, this function of this, on the one hand, there will be a deterioration, on the other hand, a few people who come into being on this earth whose other organs of perception are active. They would be the leaders of the future generation, spiritual leaders. So yes,
Hello, sir. So you mentioned about how in previous times this knowledge was more secretive because
was more
this knowledge was secretive for a reason, and the prematureness of the I was
the what?
the prematureness of the ego, the prematureness of the I was focused upon. And I only wonder now that the knowledge is accessible through the technology that, like the technological age that we're living in, and how there is the accessibility to the knowledge and the interpretations and the meaning we all can make of it. The only question that comes to me is how can one stay, like, how can one be not engulfed in the I, not be engulfed in the I, like, not let the I take over, but also be kind enough to let the I mature, if that makes sense.
or I?
No, I, the self. Yeah. Let the ego mature. But then again, it puts me in a doubt with the subtleties of the mind and the intelligence and how it can be a falsehood and how can one really understand with the humility of when to say that one is not ready or when one is ready.
Now that's a many-sided question. I'm just wondering where to start. There's no question of cutting off the I prematurely, as you said. That is not going to work anyway. Because the I, me, tries to rebel when there is a cut, doesn't like to be annihilated. So it should come only gradually. This is one of the reasons why it was kept a secret, not told to all and sundry. There is a beautiful text called the Ashtavakra Gita. Many people come to me and say, we want to study the Ashtavakra Gita. I said, I want to tell you a story. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, the guru of Swami Vivekananda, who is well known, he used to read out the Ashtavakra Gita and discuss it with Swami Vivekananda when he was a young man, who was Narendra Datta. The moment he saw some other people coming to the corridor, he would put it under the pillow and say, Hari, 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 Hari. Why did he do that? Because they are not ready for the Ashtavakra Gita. It's like people say, I want to read the Yoga Vasishta. I said, read everything else and then read the Yoga Vasishta. So there is a time and a situation and a level of maturity to study matters. So while I am teaching the Upanishad, I am giving you a hint that ultimately this is what it is. But how one comes to that, each person's journey may be different. Some people's ego may not dissolve and come to this understanding until they pass through difficult situations in life. For some, it may come even while they are pretty young. Now, is that unfair? It's not unfair. We understand that it is because I believe that there is a past life. Many. Some influences have come from there, and this person has just matured in this life. So maybe pretty young, these things are understood. There are also cases where they are also mature, but they need to go through certain experiences in life. When those happens, the whole thing clears up. So there is no one standard procedure or one standard formula. You see, this is very important to know. If somebody says there is a formula to find the truth, I totally do not agree. Kriya Yoga is also not a formula to find the truth. Truth is so expansive that there cannot be any formulas. All formulas of different kinds are only to prepare you to understand certain facts so that you can get across. So don't try to crush the ego prematurely. It may react in different ways. Go slow, think carefully, move forward.
Sadar Pranam Guruji. My question is, by nature, our senses are outward bound. So how do you make them go inwards, or how do you make them make a U-turn? And and does it happen when the body is still and the mind is settled?
May I explain your statement in a different way? You cannot make the senses into any U-turn. They're always out. Even my senses enjoy the outside world. I drink a good cup of tea and I enjoy it. They're not enjoying it. The idea is to keep your senses under control so that they don't go beyond control excessively. First step. Why? Because if you indulge too much in your sense enjoyments, all your energy gets dissipated. You need a lot of energy to go into serious matters like this, which is why. Not because it is bad or good, no. You know how much energy is wasted in the indulgences of the sense. So to keep it controlled, but the energy is there in us to go into this serious journey. That's one thing. So there is, and you cannot turn the senses around. In the ancient times, from ancient times, various methods of worship and sadhana have been created so that the human being, whose senses are naturally operational, uses them for a spiritual purpose. Like, you can't say, I like color, I like the smell of flowers, I like perfume. You cannot say, I want to cut it off totally. It will only react. So what do? I use it in worship. So what happens? It's connected to something more than the ordinary. So the senses are working, but they are working for a different purpose. And then, when you begin to enjoy the inner, then slowly the senses discovering that this is better than this. Yes, that's how it is. You cannot force them, force your senses to stop completely. This is what happens. People, in olden days, life was divided into 4 sections. There was brahmacharya, grahastha ashrama, vanaprastha, and then sannyasa. Now, jumping from brahmacharya suddenly into sannyas is not so easy for most people. So you see through all aspects of life and you see how hollow it is and you say, okay, that's it. Otherwise, you prematurely jump into it. You can't come back. You can't move forward. You're stuck. That's the way to. I would say that is the middle path.
Pranams, Guruji.
Last question.
Regarding what we've been talking today, is the way or the direction the cessation of mental processes, emotions, and while being alive and being there, is that the way?
Say that again. Say that again.
Is the direction the way that the cessation of mental processes, emotional processes, while being alive, is that the direction?
I did not say anything about the cessation of all mental processes. What I was trying to convey, that if you are seriously searching for the beyond, then all these things must happen. If it is merely a hobby, you don't have to do it. Or if you say, I want to do many things, but along with that, then there is no need to do all that. If you're truly serious about it, then yes. But even the thought that the mind should become quiet and all mental processes should stop, even the thought itself is not so easy. More so the implementation. So it is better because the mind can react very fast and then soon you will find that you have left the path. You can't handle this empty vacuum. Best thing, therefore, is to divert the mind into something that takes you into the spiritual journey. Instead of thinking of stopping all mental processes altogether, which is not going to work, honestly. So try to divert your mind to spiritual practice by which you give attention either to your breath or to a chanting of a mantra or something like that, till you become comfortable with the stopping of all processes. Otherwise, you're in a vacuum. You don't like vacuum. The mind doesn't like a vacuum, just like nature doesn't like a vacuum. I'm saying this out of all seriousness. You start there. Then think of stopping all afterwards. This is a theoretical understanding of what it is. This is there because lest you get to something and say, I found it. And if it is not setting according to this, then you have not found it. That is why the Upanishads are there. Thank you. Now, we meet tomorrow. We have 2 long sessions, morning. How many hours in the morning? 10:30 to 12 and evening?
And then 4 to
4
6.
to 6. We may not complete the Kena Upanishad.
We also have a morning 6:30 Unity walk. So I'll let you come there. So I'm just requesting to everyone, please stay seated. Can we everyone just close your eyes and let's just chant Om 3 times. Please close your eyes. Take a deep breath in. I really want you to close your eyes. He's there. His presence is there. And as you let out your breath, just relax.